Yo, Brittany's Hand and Shane Diefenbach here with the PHNX Sun Devils postgame show brought to you by the one and only DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Join now today using promo code PHNX, and you'll get $100 in free bets when you place $1 on any NFL game and either team scores a point. As Sun Devils win, I'm joined by Brittany Boyer on the field. Brittany, how are we feeling down there?
It feels absolutely amazing. There's a lot of energy out here tonight. Obviously it wasn't the same type of performance in the second half that they had against UCLA, but still a strong performance nonetheless, able to get the job done and moving on with another win. Coming into this game, they weren't really sure what to expect. They had already said that. They felt like it was BYU 2.0. So I think everyone right now just is breathing a sigh of relief on this team. Another one in the books. Like they said, one at a time, and now it's time to move on to the next one.
Yeah, it was up until the end of the game. One of our keys was obviously discipline, and there was one penalty for 10 yards.
That was all they had. And that was a huge blow to see them do that. The one foul for 10 yards, really looking up, I had just been looking up at the scoreboard. I was sitting at the opposite end zone on the ground and the big scoreboard over here. And, I was looking at that. They were showing all of the stats before. ASU secondary really got burned tonight when you sat down and looked at the yards. They gave up over 300 passing yards tonight to McKee. I thought that was big, especially going into next week. I think that's going to be something that they're really going to need to focus on. Up at the front, they really did a great job of stopping the run most of the night, but in the back, that secondary did give up quite a few big plays, so I think that's going to be a focal point for them. But, yeah, like you said, it was kind of disappointing to see at the end that final drive down the field for Stanford when Arizona State's defense kind of just gave up 45 yards and just let them go right down. But, shout out to them for that interception. It stopped them from being able to score and kept the score 28-10. So, that took a lot of pressure off of the offense in terms of having to go back out there. And I don't know how much pressure there would have been. I'm not really sure how much time was left. They need to go back and look at that. But that's something to consider, you never know, depending on how much time's left. Stanford might want to come out, onside kick, do something crazy, and who knows what could happen. Right? It's a Pac-12 game on a Friday night. Anything goes. So
yeah, for sure. There was probably about 5 minutes left when they were inside of the red zone before that interception that sealed it by George Clark. But it's totally a bend don't break mentality, especially when it gets later in that game. 9 of the 10 drives they had were in ASU territory, and they only ended up with 10 points total. So that was showing again tonight. It was really complete. As we talked about, that swagger was just there for this ASU team.
Yes.
Especially after that, as Bailey said, innovative interception. It was very Ed Reed-like by Jack Jones to pitch it to Pierce, and that kind of got everything going, and this defense started playing a lot better. 207, I think, passing yards given up in the first half wasn't great, but they kind of locked it down and sealed it, and really got everything going today. The running backs again look great. You can't give enough credit to them.
Yeah, and Jack Jones was close with a couple of other interceptions too on the night. Yep. I believe Pierce, besides the interception he had in the first half, I think he almost had another one or some other point in the game. So, in terms of the aggressiveness and trying to make those plays, the defense did look good, but then you also see them give up big plays that allow, 15 plus yards. And when they're on third downs, I feel like that's a really crucial thing. Or even when they were allowing them to complete the plays, going for it on 4th and 3, 4th and 1, and they're getting a first down and then some. So.
Yeah, I think the player of the night, though, even with the incredible play by Jack Jones and the secondary, they just got burned by a little too much for a little too many yards. I think Tyler Johnson was probably the biggest impact on this defense.
100%. He had two huge sacks tonight in the game that were just absolutely critical and really helped to keep that momentum in favor of the Sun Devils. So I do agree. He had an outstanding performance tonight. So, yes, player of the game for sure.
Yeah, and it goes back to that bend don't break. It's not sending 5 or 6 every time to get pressure. It's sometimes just letting those front 4 guys step up. And DJ Davidson had a couple big plays. As we talked about, Tyler Johnson played great. And Darius Butler just hits hard. I say it every time, but my God, he hits hard. I'm sure you could hear it down there on the field.
Your boy Marlon Robertson had a really nice stop right here by the goal line, too. So, it was nice to see him making some plays. He's been relatively quiet this year, so, that was something different that we haven't seen yet. So that was nice.
Yeah, he's been quiet, but only on the stat sheet. He's always there, but it doesn't show up. It's a lot of intangible stuff. And it was also good to see Eric Gentry. He was there a lot, out there a lot tonight, communicating. And as a freshman, it's just incredible to see that 6'6" frame adds so much to the Sun Devil defense and the linebacking core.
You know who else had a really good night tonight, too, in terms of offense was Curtis Hodges. I felt like he had quite a few big grabs. It would have been clutch if we could have seen Gordon Porter reel in that really long pass that they did on a 1st and 10 into the end zone. Couldn't pull it in, but, I feel like he's one of those kids that's still getting a little bit more experience from the players that are around him that have a little bit more from different coaches that they're pulling. So I'm looking forward to see what he's able to do as he continues to develop and grow throughout the years, because I don't think he's going to be a player who after his junior year immediately leaves. I expect him to stay. So as he gets older and progresses, it will be absolutely amazing to see him reel in some of those catches like that for a big play and a big touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, this wide receiver core is not only deep but super young. Elijah Badger had a great end around reverse after that crazy end around reverse flea flicker for the touchdown, or for the long game that ended up in the Elijah Badger touchdown. So that was really fun to see. There's just so many weapons that Jaden Daniels has to throw to. So the idea of having an Ayuk, it's kind of thrown out the window. It doesn't really matter. You don't need Pearsall to go for 100 yards every night. You can have 20, 30 from Bunkley Shelton, 50 from Hodges. You can get wherever you want it.
And that was something that they showed in the first game of the year when we didn't really see any certain receiver step up. It was kind of just a little bit of everywhere. He was sharing the love, spreading the love with everybody. And so I feel like that's kind of, we've talked about that. We weren't sure what mentality they were going to take going through the season. But Shane, at the halfway point, I would say that I think that the overall vibe is that they're not really depending on one specific guy this year. They want to share the love. They want to share the sugar. And I feel like that's what I'm taking away from it.
Absolutely. Bailey in the chat says expected ASU to win, but expected Stanford to be much closer in this game. Credit to the defense. Also, side note, congrats to the Mercury. That game was incredible, by the way.
Yes, it was. I got the update by 3.
Yeah, it was great. Diana Taurasi, of course, had some choice words to say after that game. But the defense tonight, that swagger, even giving up that many yards, it's again the bend don't break. It's so impressive to see them really just stick their foot in the ground. And keep the Devils alive, or keep the Devils get the offense back on the field. I mean, and kind of tire out their defense. So it's encouraging to see.
Yeah, I was gonna say every single time that it seemed like Stanford was getting somewhere offensively, something would happen. ASU's defense would step up and it would force them right back off the field, and it never allowed them to really get into a momentum, get into a rhythm, or really find their game. The Sun Devils forced them to play by their game plan, and I felt like that was really what worked out best for them. They came in, they were the more dominant team the entire time, and it worked out. And this is the type of Sun Devil football that we've collectively been talking about seeing. And, like we said, wasn't as great of a game as we saw against UCLA, but still, nonetheless, 2 back-to-back solid performances from the team. And, at this point in the season, they were ranked. There was a lot of question marks coming into this game on if Arizona State could clean things up in terms of the penalties and with turnovers and stuff. What's up, Lotone Capone? Good to see you. But, to see them come out and do this 2 weeks in a row, I think it really solidifies where they're at this point in the season. They've got their heads screwed on straight, and they're locked and loaded for the next 6 games, finishing things out from here. So, this was a great performance. It's what you really, really like to see. And, you got to just hope that, like Herm Edwards said after the week 1, fixing things in practice is a lot easier after a win. This is a huge win. There's still a couple things to fix, but really it wasn't a terrible game. So I'm excited to see what they end up working on this week in practice.
Yeah, so going back to the 356 passing yards they allowed, I feel like that was kind of the game plan going into this game, was adapt that embrace that bend don't break mentality, and make sure that you don't give up any shot plays. And they brought up an interesting stat on the ESPN broadcast tonight. ASU is the only team in the FBS right now that hasn't given up a play over 40 yards, which is just so telling to this team.
Yeah, and that's something that I do want to point out. Arizona State has been one of those lone remaining defenses in years past that hasn't given up a play of 40 or more yards. So to see it happen again, it just shows that this staff has them on track. Anything that anyone else is saying, that's outside noise. This staff has them locked down. They're doing what they need to do. They're playing the way that they need to play. And the fact that they are the only FBS team whose defense has not given up a play of 40 or more yards, that speaks volumes in itself.
Yeah. So
Sorry,
let's
my
go.
mask keeps falling down.
All good. So let's go back to the first quarter. The thing that kicked everything off, the 51-yard touchdown run by Jaden Daniels. Pump fake, calm, cool, collected. Jaden Daniels taking off in the pocket. And was that not the easiest looking 50-yard touchdown run you've ever seen?
Oh, it looked so nice. He looked smooth. Kind of like you said before, the swagger was out there. Look good, feel good. This team came out looking good, playing good, feeling good, confident as hell. And I feel like it shows. They're getting more confident with every game, but not cocky. And that is a key difference, I feel like, between this team and teams of years past. You know, this team still seems like they're very motivated. They still know that they have a lot to do, a lot to prove. They didn't get to have the season that they wanted to have last year. They didn't start things off the way they wanted to start off. There's a lot of things floating around. They know that they control their own destiny right now, and all they have to do is just stay focused and get the job done day in, day out. And that goes for practice, and it all starts there. And I feel like they have a really solid foundation going on over there, so it's been pretty good for them.
Yeah, and I think this offense, skill players aside, Jaden's great quarterback play again aside, the thing that was, and the running backs, of course, the thing that was able to kind of kickstart this offense and keep it going through the whole game was that offensive line. They were winning almost every battle up front.
Oh, they looked
White and
great.
holes were so big when they were able to burst out and even pulling downfield on these RPOs and design quarterback runs, they just look sweet.
And you know what? We have to touch on the offensive line a little bit more because, you know what, if you've been a Sun Devil like I have, you know, when I was going to school here, I started in 2011. It was 10 years ago. I still can't believe it. But the offensive line has not always been what it is now, especially in the years when Todd Graham was here. They struggled immensely towards the end of his tenure because they shortcutted the way that they recruited things. They had a lot of junior college kids come in, start, and then when they would leave, they didn't really have anyone else coming in. And the guys that they did have that were younger that they recruited weren't necessarily the strongest players. They didn't really develop the way you wanted them to develop. So now you're seeing Herm bringing in kids who are coming, like Ladarius Henderson coming out of high school, who's absolutely huge. He's getting the job done. He makes a huge difference out there, and he's young. So you see players like that, and then you have them mixed with players like Henry Hodges, who is a sixth-year senior because he had a redshirt year of eligibility to use last year, and then the additional year because of COVID. So then you get to put him next to somebody like Henry Hodges and get their experience and kind of have them share knowledge. Well, mostly Ladarius taking knowledge from Henry, but still, it's one of those things, you know, this offensive line is huge. I want to give a huge shout out to the coaching staff that's come in. They've done a great job of turning things around in terms of the recruiting, the product on the field, and what they've been able to do for the run game. You know, this team is just so different from years past. The more I sat here and thought about it tonight and kind of reflected on it, the more obvious it was. Like, this truly was a very defensive-minded team, and they didn't quit the whole night. It was there. I mean, yes, they had a couple missteps down here with the penalties, 3 in a row, but that was really, like, the only issue that they had, and I think they just were getting a little excited and just wanted to get the game done and over with, you know?
Yeah, and that good offensive line play not only helps Jaden, but also gives him more confidence to stay in the pocket and be able to do what he loves to do, and that's throw the football downfield. And he had a couple really good throws, really nice strikes outside of the tackles, or outside of the tackle box. But the throw that he missed at the end of the game that could have sealed it would have been so beautiful if it hadn't been a little bit underthrown. Yeah, if it hadn't been a little bit underthrown.
Yeah, you know, Jaden Daniels really did look good tonight. He looked like he was in his zone. He was vibing. He had a couple really, really beautiful passes. Again, no interceptions. That's always nice. We do talk about turnovers being something previously in this point or in the year, you know, leading up to this game. Arizona State had no turnovers against UCLA, so it wasn't so much of an issue at this game. The one fumble, but still, I think that's pretty good given that the game against BYU, they had 4 turnovers. So, you know, you take a lot of things into consideration that Arizona State's focusing on and working on week after week and what they're putting on the field. And there's some differences. You're seeing slowly the progression. And for the midway point in the season, I really have to say, I don't think that I've seen another Pac-12 team that looks more like a title contender than Arizona State, except Oregon. And Oregon lost. They have one loss too. So, you know, it's going to be interesting going into this Pac-12 championship game when that point in the season gets here. But, you know, I really think that the fact that the Devils control their destiny at this point in the year, and they just had this huge win over the only other team in the Pac-12 besides Oregon that anybody's really talking about. So it's absolutely huge. It was a Friday night game. It was one of the only college games being played tonight. It was broadcast nationally, so there were a lot of eyes on it. So they have to be feeling good right now.
Absolutely. Lotan Capone brings up a point that I want to touch on. He says we need to make it a point to give Ngata more touches, but in a backfield this talented, it's so hard to do that. And I think they're doing the right thing by kind of using him as a scheme guy. And later in games, he does look good on the ground. We have to remember how young he is and how talented the guys above him are. I mean, Rachaad White is the most used running back in the Pac-12 right now, and that's a lot to do with Chip's injuries. But at the same time, this team is the running back core is so talented that there isn't really a lot of room for extra touches. And as it is now, I think they run the perfect amount. So moving forward, they're going to be using him a lot more, but probably not this year.
Not this year, but you know what? It was nice to see him get out there and get after it a little bit. I felt like they used him more tonight than they used Trainum. Trainum was kind of their go-to guy for the first quarter, and then he didn't do much after that. So to see Daniel and Ngata be able to be the one taking the ball down and getting a little bit more of those touches tonight was telling in terms of what he's capable of and his potential, but it also was just one of those things where you have another offensive weapon, and he's young, so that's another positive right there.
Yeah, Chip was 9 for 50, and Rachaad White was 13 for 96. I think.
Okay.
And Ngata was 5 for 21. He had some good runs, but I mean, the two talented backs are clear. And I think, to me, I was wondering this. I was like, how are these guys? They all run kind of similar. They're all really patient. They wait for the blocks to develop, and they burst through. And I was thinking about it, and it's probably on the coaching staff. It's probably on guys like Herm and Zach Hill who are telling them, hey, look, we're setting up these plays for you. Our offensive line is good enough to win these battles in the trenches. Just wait for your hole and burst. And they all do that. They all take a couple steps, read what the defense is giving them, and then attack it. And it's super impressive to see guys so young and older guys like Rachaad White take advantage of what the defense is giving them, because it's rare.
Yeah, it is rare. And, it's nice to see them. Really, it's nice to see this offense being able to jive and actually get big plays off and not rely so much on just little plays to move the ball down the field. Or the fact that they also can do that and chip away at moving the chains down the field instead of just relying on a big play. They're very versatile. But that was a play on words, but not intentional. But I'm talking, you just slowly go and you chop away at moving the chains, Some teams aren't very good at that. Some teams are not. That's not a strong point. They rely on big explosive plays to get the job done. And at one point in the year, kind of looks like Arizona State might be moving towards that of a team. But now, that shows to just be, it was like a one-off type of game thing where they were having a couple of issues and getting situated. And so, it is very refreshing, and it should be one of those things that makes fans feel a little bit more comfortable and settled at this point in the year.
Yeah, and going back to the defense, one thing I just want to say straight up, Jack Jones is probably the best corner in the Pac-12 right now. I mean,
Jack Jones is absolutely insane. Also, let's touch for just a brief second on Chase Lucas, because he never ended up, at least I didn't see him come back out after halftime.
No, he didn't.
So, best wishes to him. He's somebody who you really don't want to be without on the sidelines. He's a very vocal leader. He's a guy who's very emotional, but controlled for the most part when he plays. He brings a lot of energy, and he really embodies what it means to be a Sun Devil. He's one of the longest, I don't want to say tenured players on the team, but, he's been here for a while because he had his redshirt year as well. He's kind of in the same boat as where Henry Hodges is at, but, not a transfer from a different school. So he's somebody that you don't want to be without. Sending him the best wishes for a speedy recovery. We know he was in concussion protocol a couple weeks ago, and I don't know what happened in tonight's game. I have no update, no reports, so don't take anything I say.
Yeah. But, so what I heard it's a back contusion. It was a bad collision where I think a helmet went to his back. And as soon as I saw the play, I knew something was up because he started grabbing that back. So I hope he's okay. And it's a little, you kind of find something good in that, because the guys that were able to step up, Tamarcus Davis, Jordan Clark, all the corners that were able to play more played really, really well. I mean,
Jordan Clark had that clutch interception at the end of the game.
And Tamarcus Davis saved points at the end of that first half by tipping the ball back to Keon Markham. for the pick at the end of the first half. So it's really impressive to see all these different guys step up. And that's what the Sun Devils team is. If there's an identity of the Sun Devils team right now, it's that next man up mentality and how deep this team is. I mean, they have 2 or 3 guys that can play without missing a step at every single position. And it's so impressive.
Yeah, it really is. And, they also talked about it being a next man up mentality. That was what happened at UCLA, and then you had Gentry come in and play absolutely great. And then who else had a sack in that game who was running around? He was saying that they were running. Stanley Berryhill, I believe, had a sack in that game. And he was running around telling everybody, I got a sack. And then Herm Edwards was like, Stanley, you got a sack. But the game's not over yet. We still got to play. So, stay focused. But, it's one of those things where you see the other players have a chance to come in and develop and get a little bit more experience and do some things. So it's nice. It is nice. I do agree with that.
And you know what else is nice? A Rashad White hurdle. It is so impressive.
That was savage. I got that on video. I was trying to get it to where I could send it to you, but my camera would not connect. But we're going to have some sick highlights for the shows this upcoming week because I got pretty much everything except for the DeAndre Pierce interception for a touchdown. That was the only thing I didn't get.
So not only am I very stoked on this Sun Devil win, I'm also stoked because I took ASU spread minus 13.5. And I was getting a little nervous there at the end. But if you want to take ASU spread with me anytime or any other football game or any other sport, cricket for that matter, download that DraftKings Sportsbook app. When you sign up using promo code PHNX, you can get $100 in free bets. If you bet on an NFL game and either team just scores 1 point. My last 0-0 tie in the NFL was in 1943, so I'd say this is a no-brainer. DraftKings customers also get skin in the game with the same game parlays, which is something that I also did tonight. I parlayed the first quarter money line, the first half money line, and the spread, and won some big bucks. You can combine them and get some nice odds on that. It's safe, it's secure, it's reliable. Best of all, you can withdraw and deposit money whenever you want. A lot of these other apps you can't. DraftKings is the best for that. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today. Use that promo code PHNX. Bet just $1 on any NFL game. Get $100 in free bets if any team scores a point in that game. That's promo code PHNX this week at DraftKings Sportsbook. 21 plus, Arizona only. Gambling problem, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. New customers only. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. That landscaping there on that field looks nice, Britt.
It looks really nice, but if you want to keep it nice and trimmed up and celebrate a win, just like these boys want to celebrate a win by going out and having some fun and partying, make sure you get Manscaped. The Lawnmower 4.0 will get you all taken care of. So that way you can go out and have lots of fun and no one's going to talk about you being gross. So yeah, make sure you get it. Go to manscaped.com, use our code PHNX. You'll get 20% off plus free shipping. So again, that's PHNX. At manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping. Now, going back to what you were saying, though, about the bets and about DraftKings, they did not cover tonight, did they? Because wasn't it 51?
Oh, the over-under? Yeah. No, it was 51 the over-under, so I didn't touch that. I didn't trust anything, and I didn't think Stanford was going to score enough points.
Yeah, I didn't think they were either, and it's always hard to tell how many points, Arizona State's offense is going to do,
it's
put
impossible.
up, because I feel like it's very consistently around that 28 to 31 point margin. I feel like that's a very, very normal amount of points that I feel like they've scored in the Herm Edwards era. So, you don't really anticipate that they're going to go much over it. But then you see the game like UCLA where Arizona State was able to run away with it in the second half. But it was already a pretty high score at half, So it's one of those things you don't know what you're going to get. I feel like a lot of times it depends on the team that they're playing too, what kind of tempo they have and what they can expect. And this team, nobody really knew what to expect. I was saying it for a couple years. I have had no idea what to expect with the Stanford team. They're one of those elusive teams that you kind of just get into the game and hope the best, I feel like.
Yeah. So since it's about the halfway point in the show, and we're the pessimists that we are, we've touched on the good. We've beaten it to death. Let's talk about the bad. There were a couple times in the game where I think Arizona State could have stepped on their throats, and they didn't. Whether that's giving up a long third down or not taking a shot play. I thought the play calling was fantastic, but there were some little over-conservative calls in that third quarter. There's some manscaping going on behind you, Brittany.
I know. I'm like making sure. Brian already had told me to come on this end of the field, so I'm making sure I'm not about to get taken out. They had like a plow that came past me, which is why I panned my camera this way before because it was super loud. But yeah, some manscaping. I'm sorry. Continue, Shane.
No, you're good. Speaking of plowing, there were some really big holes in that Arizona front on defense early. They fixed that. They started stuffing the run pretty good, and that opened up the pass. But again, I think that was more from the game plan. But other than that, I thought the defense was pretty damn good. Except the 204 passing yards were worrisome at the start because I thought that was going to translate to points, and it never ended up doing that. So 204 passing yards in the first half doesn't matter.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, walking away from this game, I mean, I think you need to look at if your defense, okay, and we also have talked about this, this might have been their plan, but not allowing so many passing yards. Granted, Arizona State is getting ready to take on Utah, and Utah is historically more of a run game team type of offense. So I'm not so much expecting that to be an issue for them in the next game next week. But, it'll be interesting to see what they do in the weeks following because then you start getting into Washington State is a hard game. I don't want to say it's a hard game. It's a game that they should be able to win, but as a fan, it's kind of one of those games where, a lot of people I know are going to be looking at it from the outside, but that mentality that's very pessimistic because it's a game that Arizona State should win in its homecoming and watch them blow this game. But I really don't think that it's going to be like that for them against Washington State. But then you have to start looking into, after that they have USC and they have that late trip up to Corvallis in November. I always despise the fact that Arizona State has to go to Corvallis in November. I don't like that. I really don't. And so I think that's going to be one of their biggest games on the schedule that they have to look forward to. But taking it one game at a time, going to Utah next week, I think that, like we said, just really focus on making sure that your gap sound for that run game, making sure that the defense doesn't have any holes that allows Utah to take advantage of that and be explosive running up and down the field. And then, making sure that if they do decide that they're going to pass you, lock it down and you don't allow them to have those big plays of 20 or more yards.
Yeah. So since we're talking on the bad, this isn't bad for ASU, but this is just bad for feeling bad for a human. Their freshman kicker, Emmett Kenny, that was his first collegiate kick for Stanford ever on the PAT when he hurt himself. And I don't understand what it was. It was a non-contact thing. Might have been a hip flexor or something. But prayers out to that young freshman. That sucks.
I did not know that was his first time out there kicking in a game. That is rough. But, I was on the opposite end of the field again for that play, and I was not really sure what had happened because it didn't look like he got hit. But the next time I saw him, he was down. And so, it's going to be interesting to see. But I do want to touch on something that Low Tone Capone said. Utah is going to play with heavy hearts. That is very true. That was something I hit on in yesterday's show when we were talking about our predictions for this week for Utah versus USC. Both of them have a lot of disarray in their program right now and a lot of emotions. But Utah's emotions are a little bit more of something that you're able to feed off of and make into something in that comeback story, where USC is kind of just an absolute train wreck for different reasons.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's going to add a lot to this game. It's an early game. It starts at 7 p.m. So at least it's not a 7:30 start. We'll be able to come to you a little bit earlier. But yeah, I'm excited for that game. It's going to be another put up or shut up.
I'm sorry, what?
Well, I'll talk about the bad from the ASU offense while Brittany's handling that. The first thing that I want to touch on is Jaden Daniels, as good as he is still dealing with some misfires, whether that be missing Ricky Pearsall across the middle of the field. And I'm not saying he has to be perfect by any means because he's a college junior, true junior. And he's a collegiate athlete after all. All good?
Yeah, so I told you I had a feeling that they were going to try and kick me off, and apparently they had a rule this year that no one was allowed to do stand-ups, which I never got that email, so welcome to my life, but hey. Anyways, they told me as long as Brian Johnson told me I could be down here, I'm good, and Brian said I was good, so hey.
Well,
but, just one of those things. I'm just waiting, I've already pissed off ASU athletics quite a bit, so just Can't wait for another email to come my way.
All right. So I was talking about the offense. Jaden still has the tendency to miss a couple throws, and that's fine because of how talented his arm is, and he makes throws that he shouldn't be able to make anyway. So that's the only bad thing I could see about this game from him. Besides the one time I've seen Jaden Daniels misread a read option. It was late in the game to put it away. Another time they could have put it away. It was 3rd and I want to say 3 or 4. And instead of handing it off to, I think, Chip, he took the ball and he was very contained on the outside. And if he would have handed the ball off, it would have been an easy first down. But that was only one missed read. I mean, all the other reads he made tonight were phenomenal, whether it be an option, a pitch, or whatever. It was fantastic. Nobody puts Britt in the corner.
Yeah, right? Right? Don't you know who I am? I'm nobody important. I'm really just some fucking idiot who never knows what's happening and walking around always confused. But hey, I'll take it.
Yeah, another thing that was a little weird about the offense is it started to stall at the end of that first half. I don't know if it was them just trying to be a little bit, conservative and play it smart, trying to get a field goal. It almost looked like they were trying to settle for a field goal before they had to punt or before So to me, it's just like there's the little things, but the little things, if I'm digging for small bits that I don't like, that means ASU did a pretty damn good job tonight.
Yeah, they did. I think overall it was still a great game, like we said. Pretty overall complete. Couple different things we would still like to have seen, but overall, no glaring complaints at this point.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add before we get you on out of here so you don't get arrested?
Right. I thought it was a great turnout tonight. I felt like Sun Devil Nation did a really good job of packing the stands for a Friday game. I did not expect that. So shout out to everybody who came out. I felt like it was a really good turnout, and shout out to the Devils for the win. I thought that, it was great, and what they're doing right now, it gets me excited because, hey, Shane, we might be on our way to the Rose Bowl in December to go cover Pac-12 championships.
Knock on that goddamn wood.
Or not
right
Pac-12
now,
championship, but the Pac-12 title contender game in their bowl game, I should say.
Whatever they want to call it. Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. I liked mostly what I saw tonight. A couple things that you need to clean up, but nothing glaring from this ASU team. Offense looks good. Defense looks great. Don't be scared by the numbers. If we're looking strictly at the stats, you might see a completely different game than what was played tonight. ASU's defense gave those passes up mostly. There were a couple schemes that were outliers across the middle that were big games and some passes that should have been defended. But other than that, I feel like the game plan was to let them dink and dunk their way down the field, and we'll put our feet in the ground and make sure they don't get in the end zone. But other than that, I thought the defense played great. I thought the offense was good enough. There are a couple things, but other than that, I think it was a pretty damn complete game from this ASU football team.
Yeah, I think it was another great showing. I think 2 weeks in a row, you go out, you dominate, you look great. And, I mean, you have to make the argument Arizona State has to be within the top 20 in this week's rankings that come out. I really don't see any way that they're not. And especially when you play a Friday night game when there's not a ton of other colleges with games going on ESPN, that people got to see it. That people on the East Coast who do those rankings that don't always get to catch all the Pac-12 games got to see this game. So this is huge.
Yeah, and let's hope BYU can stay undefeated against Boise State on tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah,
let's keep that going. Make ASU's record look or loss look a little bit better every day.
Here's my thinking. Everyone needs to campaign and bandwagon for BYU to go undefeated this year, and then absolutely shit the bed in a bowl game later, so they have that one loss, but won't go to the the college football playoffs or anything, But ASU still looked good because their one loss was only to BYU, and the circle. So.
Yeah, we love the circle. All right, guys, another great post-game show. Good Devils win. I'm excited to talk Utah next week, Saturday at 7. We'll be back on Monday live. Is that where we're gonna go? We're still figuring that out. Tuesday live.
All right, we'll have our podcast Tuesday. Monday, and then live show Tuesday. Yeah. Make sure you go to PHNX, check it out. We're going to have a post-game story up for you guys by tomorrow, mid-morning or so. So, yeah, check it out. Become a member. We'd love to chat with you over there. But anyway, Shane, anything else?
Who writes those stories, Britt?
Oh, me, you know.
Oh, little old me. All right. Yeah. Go to PHNX. Follow us at PHNX_Sun Devils. Subscribe to the YouTube channel at PHNX Sports or at Facebook or Instagram. Follow me on Twitter at Shane D. Follow Brittany on Twitter at bboyer07. It's been a fantastic show. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we will see you on Tuesday. Peace, guys.
See you guys. Thanks.